You might have heard of the Save the Cat plotting structure. Maybe you've read about it. Maybe you've even watched other videos about it. So today I am going to go over the 15 beats for the Save the Cat plotting structure so that you have another idea of what what plotting looks like and another structure to use if you are trying to find one that fits your style. I'm just going to talk more in general about this structure and why it might work for you. You have a story to tell, but you don't know where to start. Let me show you how to free your story. I teach you how to write and how to dig deep in your soul to release your story and make a difference in the world. Welcome to the Julia Amante channel. If we're just meeting, I am Julia Amante. I'm a women's fiction author, and I also make videos on Fridays to give you some tips and kind of tell you what I've experienced through my writing career in hopes that it might help you if you're just starting out. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is the Save the Cat plotting method or structure. So the way this came about was that Blake Snyder wrote a book called Save the Cat, the last book on screenwriting that you'll ever need. So kind of a long title, but what he did is he wrote this book for screenwriters, and he looked at various movies and the way that they were structured and where various plot points came in, right? And you notice that a lot of the, a lot of the movies had at the same time they hit a certain point, right? And so what he called them were beats. So rather than the plot points that you'll see in other plotting structure, he calls them beats. Basically the same thing, right? So it's when something major happens in the story, there's a change, there's a twist, there's a point where the character has to make a decision. It's an important part of the story. And so again, there's a lot of them out there, and I've seen online, I will show you right now, somewhere on this video, that there have been some people that have created these sort of maps or drew these charts or outline that shows you all the different methods. And that's what I'm trying to really explain to you through these plotting videos, is that they're all very similar. So whether you're using the hero's journey or you're using which is it's a circular, right? The hero's journey is a circular plotting method where you take your hero from his ordinary world, goes through this journey and comes all the way back around to his original life, a changed and transformed person. But they're all basically doing the same thing, and they all hit very similar points in the story. And hopefully through these various videos that I'm creating on plotting, it's helping you to understand that it really doesn't matter which one you're choosing, because they're all going to be very similar, because stories have a pattern to them. And that's what I, again, want you to see, is that there is a pattern. The story starts typically with the hero in his or her ordinary life, and all of a sudden something happens, right? A trigger happens that sets them on this story, on this journey that you're going to tell. Can it start somewhere else? Of course, because a lot of times they do, right? Sometimes they start with the end and then do a flashback that goes back to basically this structure that all these plotting structures share. Sometimes it happens, right as the change is happening, which is a great way to start because it captures your audience's attention. So sometimes it starts right as something's happening, right when the hero is making that, it has to make that decision, that's change, right? And then sometimes it will go back somewhere in the point to explain like where he's coming from, what happened. Let's say he's about to get hit by a car, or he's about to die, or he's about to lose his job, or something major is about to happen, right, in the story. And so it happens, and then it moves forward, but then we don't even know who this character is. It has to go back and explain a little bit about how he got there. Why is this such a terrible thing that just happened to him? Let's talk about Save the Cat, because that's the one, that's the plot structure that I want to discuss today. I'm going to go over again what those 15 beats are. And I'm also going to post my blog below so that you can go through and see. So sometimes, at least it helps me, you know, if I'm listening to something, it's one thing, but if I'm seeing it, it gets reinforced in my brain a little better. So you might want to go to my blog post where I have all the 15 beats, or just, you know, find them somewhere and take a look at those as I'm talking about them. Now, one thing before I do that is I want to explain is that Snyder, again, wrote for screenwriters. So he had his 110 pages of a screenplay, and he was very strict about where these plot points or, you know, beats for him, beats had to happen. And like very specific, like if it had to be, you know, page at 25, this had to happen. He's received some criticism for that, because what if in your story it seems to happen on page 25, right? Or 30. Why does it have to be specifically page 25 where something happens, or page 50 or whatever, right? So there was little flexibility in his method. And you know, if you read some things about him, it's like he would you say, oh no, you know, turn scripts away because these beats are not happening exactly on the page that they're supposed to happen. You know, because he really believed that that was going to create the best, you know, the best story if these things happen at this specific time in the script. Now, he passed away in 2009, and but his company is still active. There are podcasts. You can go to his website, which again I can link down at the bottom. What he, you know, his company has continued, and there are other Save the Cat books out now, written by other writers, and there's one specifically for novelists by Jessica Brody, and she's a little more flexible on when things happen. So instead of saying a specific page, first of all, novels are very different, right? You can have a 300-page novel, you can have a 400-page novel, so it's very hard to say it has to happen on this page. So what she does is she does a percentage. So between, you know, 0 and 10%, this is where you're going to have, you know, the beginning of the story, the introduction, and so forth. And again, I'll go through all those points. But so there's a little bit more flexibility for her and her book for novelists, but it still hits those same points that Blake had in his for screenwriters. Okay, so let's go over what these beats are, what they look like, and at what point in your novel they should appear. All right, so quickly, first of all, it is going to follow the 3-act structure, because they all do, right? So Act 1, you have the opening scene. The opening image is what they call them. Okay, what is that? It's just a snapshot of what is happening at the beginning. Who is this person? What are they doing? Where they work? Who are they? Okay, so it's just a snapshot of their life. Very, very short. 0 to 1% will have this opening shot, this opening image, so that you can get an idea of who this character is. Okay, beat 2 is the theme. The theme is stated by someone. Jessica Brody says it's typically not the character, but somebody else will say like what the theme of the story is. What is your story really about? What is this character? What transformation is this character going to need? And you know, what is that theme that you're going to show throughout your book? And this is only the first 5% of your novel, so it comes very early. So that the reader understands what your story is going to be about. Is it a story about love? Is it about love lost? Is it about justice? Is it about whatever, right? What is the theme of that story? Okay, the next part is called the setup, and it's the first 10% of the story, right? So the setup, and of course you can see it includes the other two parts, of course, right? So the first 10% is the setup of your story. This is the character. If you're going through, you know, if you're using the hero's journey, it is the ordinary world. What is happening? Who is this person? What are their goals? What is it costing them not to go for their goals and to stay in their ordinary world? You're introducing the character. This is exactly what it would the same as the ordinary world if you're using the hero's journey. Beat number 4, again, is happening in the first 10%. So again, all of these things are happening right at the beginning, is called the catalyst. And what is the catalyst? It is that inciting incident. What is happening to change this character? Why is this character going to make a change right now in the story? Why do they have to do it? What's happening? So you need to show what that is within the first 10% of your story. All right, beat number 5 is called the debate. It's where the character is saying, I don't know if I should do this. It shows that the character might be fearful or might not be confident to go on this journey that he needs to go to. Can I actually stay? Do I have to go? Do I have to make this change? Because of course the character doesn't want to, right? They don't want to change. They don't want to. They may want to, but there's things that are keeping them from doing it, which again could be fear, could be lack of confidence, could be that they feel like they need to stay in their world for somebody else, right? They need to stay in the ordinary world because of family or a loved one or something. But it is where the character debates whether this is a good idea or not. Should I do it? What happens if I don't do it, right? So it's all that's happening during this beat number 5. Okay, and that really ends the first act, right? At that first point where he's trying to make the decision. The next beat is beat number 6, and it's called break into 2, which means you are breaking into the second act, okay? So you're moving into act 2, and here is where the character makes the decision to go ahead and move forward and enter this journey that they must take, okay? So they have no choice. They decide, I better do it. I have to, I have no choice. And you see that happening. Okay, beat number 7 comes next, and it's called B story. Now, what does that mean? That it means that it's almost like a subplot, but a new character enters this world, this journey with the hero, or the hero meets this new person. At this point, it's similar again to the hero's journey with meeting with the mentor, where there's a guide, right, that's going to help this person go through. Except that in the Save the Cat method, it's not so much a mentor. It can be a friend, it can be a family member, it can be somebody that's going to be helpful to the character, but it could also be an antagonist. It could be somebody who is going to challenge the character. And really what this secondary character, what this extra character is doing is helping the character to meet the goal of the theme. So if the theme is courage, let's say, this character has to help your main character become more courageous. So again, it doesn't have to be a positive character. It can be a negative character that's going to challenge, antagonize. It could be a bad character that's going to try to hurt your character, and your character has to become stronger and be more courageous. So it's just the addition of this extra character for beat number 7. The next part, or beat number 8, is called fun and games. And it's a huge percentage of your story, because this is where a lot of the things happen. This is where the character starts to explore this new world, gets challenged, sometimes has a good time. If it's a romance, this is where the hero and the heroine start to have scenes together where things are getting better, things are getting worse, they're getting to know each other. So it's a big chunk of your book. It's up to 50% of your novel. This is where everything is going to be happening. Things are going to be happening. Okay, beat number 9 is the midpoint. So it's literally the middle of your book. So it is at the 50% mark. Now what happens here is there's some kind of twist. If things are going well, so during the fun and games, things were going well, the hero and the heroine were getting to know each other, the detective was finding clues, and everything was going positive, there's going to be a twist here where it will turn, right? And now it's going to be a challenge for the character. If it was the other way around, so things are going bad, right? So they're failing, they're not getting used to the new world, they're not unhappy, they're being challenged constantly. Something wonderful happens in the midpoint that turns things around, and it makes things hopeful, so that the character sees that, okay, maybe there is hope here, and this is going to be better. I'm going to be able to do this, right? So that's at the 50% mark. And another thing here at the 50% is that there's no turning back at this point. So once this happens, once this twist happens in the middle of your book, this is where the character says, well, okay, I'm moving forward. There's no way that I can turn around and go back to the life that I had before. I'm pushing forward, whether things turn terrible or whether they turn well. The character knows that I have no choice now. Okay, I have to move forward. Beat number 10 is 50% to 75% of your novel. So after this midpoint, where something happened, right? Some twist happened. Now the character has to react to that. So if it was something terrible, what is it that he's going to do? How is he going to get out of the problem that just occurred at the midpoint? If it's something wonderful that happened, so things were bad, and then something wonderful happened, this is where he's kind of tested to see, yes, is this going to happen, right? Am I going to continue to have things positive? There's an increase in tension though at this part of your book, the 3/4 part of your book. And it's tense, right? So they've gotten to the middle, something has happened, and you're going to feel an increase in tension, whether it is good stuff or bad stuff. But this is where, things really, really ramp up. Okay, beat number 11 is called All Is Lost, and it happens at exactly 75% of your book. So, look at the pages at 75%. This is where this point happens. And what All Is Lost means is exactly what it sounds like. The hero feels like everything just goes terrible and bad, and he's not actually going to achieve his goal. In tragedies, what happens is, if at this point the hero realizes that he's never going to achieve his goal and he does not move forward, and of course other types of stories that are not tragic, the hero has to figure out what happens. It's going to motivate him. He feels like everything is lost at this point. As you'll see in the next beat, he's going to get out of it. But if he doesn't get out of it, that's when it becomes a tragedy. Okay, so this is everything is terrible, everything's stacked against him, and it looks impossible to move forward. Beat 12 is the dark night of the soul, which happens right after the 75% point, where it's almost a sequel to the previous beat, right? Where he is going to think about what happened and figure out how to get out of it. It is a point in the book where maybe there's a new discovery or something happens where he realizes that, okay, I know what to do now. I know how to get out of this. So it's the darkest part where the hero is at his lowest, right after the dark moment there, but he realizes that there is a way out. Typically at this point, what's going to happen is that the hero is going to create a new plan. What is the new plan? How am I going to get out of this? And this ends your Act 2. Okay, it's the end of Act 2. And the next beat is beat number 13, which is called Break into 3. So that means we are moving into the third act. And in the beginning of third act, what you're going to see is the character implementing his plan that he just created in beat number 12. So now is the time to move forward with this new plan. It's got to work because there are no more options, right? So this is where he just decides to move forward, give it his all, risk everything in order to achieve his goal. And Break into 3 is at the 80% part of your book, okay, point of your book. Then beat number 14 is the finale. This is where we watch the hero win, okay? This is where the hero reaches his goal, achieves what he needs to achieve, has learned his lesson, has transformed, and we can see all that happening. In fact, you have to see all that transformation in order for the hero to get his goal, because at the beginning of the story, you wouldn't have been able to achieve the goal. But having gone through this whole journey, now, right at the finale, he can, and you are at 80 to 99% of your story now. And what is that last percentage, that last 1%? Well, the first 1% was an opening scene of The Ordinary World, right? The last part is that 1% is that last image, that last, what is happening at the very end of your story. that is going to show your character celebrating or being rewarded with something that, with his goal after having gone through all this. So it's that last snapshot of your character living happily ever after. Okay, so those are the 15 beats. So as you can see, it has a lot of similarities to the hero's journey and to other plotting structures. So it's just different ways that people have decided to name, first of all, their points, their beats, and to create a story that, again, is very similar, follows the 3-act structure, follows a lot of hero's journey type of changes for the character, and why, if we start asking ourselves, like, why are so many of these plotting structures so similar? Because I mean, your guess is as good as mine, but it's just that is the journey that we take in stories and in life, right? So life's a little bit more complicated because we have setbacks that sometimes we don't recover from, right? And we have things that go back and forth. We have we meet our goal and we have a triumph, and then we have to, then we move on to another goal that we want. In real life, we're never satisfied. Life is never over. In a story, it's nice because we can take a character from the beginning of that journey, that goal, to the end, and then it ends. The story ends. We know that for the character, the life goes on, but as a reader, we don't really care or think about that, right? For us, it was that satisfying ending of the hero going through the journey of maybe, not having any courage, to at the end of the story being courageous and winning his goal and being happy. And that's what we care about, is this, because, again, that's reaffirming to us in our real life. A lot of times we don't get that in real life, or a lot of times again, it's a lifelong thing before we realize, wow, okay, if I go back all the way and look at my life from, maybe not the beginning, because beginning is a little too far, but whenever we start, let's say, our adult life with our goals for what we want, and then we get to the end, we can look back and see our big journey, right? While we're going through it, it's a lot harder to see. And in a story, we do get to see that. We do get to take the character from the beginning to the end, and it follows those journeys. In real life, we do have, like, meeting of mentors. We do have tests and challenges that we have to get through. We do have the dark night of the soul, right? We have that moment sometimes in our life where we're saying, how am I going to get out of this? This is terrible. Everything is against me. And we create our new plan. Because if we don't, right, then that's the tragedy, right? So that's when people become alcoholics. We have other things that we do in real life that are destructive. And our character can do that too. Wouldn't be a very satisfying story probably, but the hero can do that. What makes stories wonderful is that they are able to overcome that and come up with a new solution. So, why are these plotting structures so similar? Because that is life. That is the plot of life, and these stories are recreating them. So, which plotting structure should you use? It really, I would say, doesn't matter, but it does matter in a way, because some labels work better for some people. Some people are more visual and would like something like that W structure that doesn't give you, that's not so specific that you can add, you can be a little more flexible with it. This one, it's not as specific and strict as the screenwriting book that Blake wrote. So if you follow the novelist Brody's novel writing book based on Save the Cat, then it's, again, there's a little bit more flexibility, but she still has those same beats happening at about the same time as they would happen in a screenplay. But one thing you can do, especially if you're not a heavy plotter, is just kind of think about those major points loosely, write your story, come back and say, okay, let me see, did I hit these points? And did I hit them approximately when she said? And if not, is your pacing off a little bit? Is it causing your story to drag? And should you pull out some things and maybe change where those major moments are happening? And is your story better? So, as you've probably, if you've watched my other videos, you know that I'm never a heavy plotter. I'm getting more and more, becoming more and more of a plotter as I get older, only because I start to see more value in it, and it helps me to organize things better. But mostly I'm not a heavy plotter. I'm mostly just I go with the flow and I write what I think needs to go into the thing. But it's helpful for me to go back and say, let me see how this is going. And sometimes I see pacing issues and I think maybe it's because I don't have this where it should have. Maybe if I pulled this scene out or moved it, it would flow better. And oftentimes it does. So use these plotting structures however it works for you. Don't do it because somebody else does it one way. Don't do it that way because I do it or because your favorite author does it. Do it plot and write the way that it works for you, but be aware of all these structures. Again, I'm aware of all these. I'm aware of what other writers have done, and it helps me just to understand it, because sometimes when you are a seat of your pants writer, you can go off in tangents. And I realize that sometimes, and I think I need to pull this out or I need to change things. So anyhow, I hope that this helps you. By the way, the reason that this method is called Save the Cat, which most people that come across this method ask, why is it called Save the Cat? It is because Blake said that at some point in your story, the hero, in order to become endearing, should save a cat, should do something altruistic to show that he's really a good guy, right? So he should save a cat that's in a bad, that needs to be saved. So that could be anything. Of course, it doesn't literally have to be a cat. It could be a child. It could be something wonderful that he does to show that he is a good guy and that he's thinking of other people. So that's why it's called Save the Cat. So somewhere in your story, usually at the beginning, your hero should save a cat.